Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Clues, Cues and Reviews, and today we're looking at the catch-up video for Boku no Hero Academia, starting with chapter 90 all the way up to date, including this week's release. Perfect opportunity to do it now. It is about 9 o'clock, 9:06. Fast opens in about 40 minutes. So it'll give me a chance to do this introduction and then get straight on to chapter 90. I'll come back and do 91, 92 and so on and so forth. Anyways, let's get on to this review. So, chapter 90, the clash between All for One and One for All begins. All Might versus the teacher begins. And he starts off with a pretty interesting shockwave that blows everybody away. We find out that later on that this is All for One basically has been using augmentation abilities, quite a few different ones, and he's like, oh, this is so fun, I need to get more of these. What I also found interesting in this actual chapter really was there's a specific mentioning of distance and time, because All for One is talking to All Might, One for All, and he's basically talking about him getting weak. He says the bar was over 5 kilometers away and you got here in well over 30 seconds. Them are the two parameters we are given. So if he's able to do over 5 kilometers in 30 seconds, that means he does 3 miles or thereabouts in 30 seconds. That means he does a mile in 30 seconds at least or thereabouts, given the time frame. And he was maybe faster before, which basically means in a minute he's doing 6. And you know how many he's doing in an hour and so on and so forth. So he's traveling at incredible speeds, and this is him in his slower form. So I found that was interesting, but the retort was just as interesting. He goes, what the hell's happened to your face? What's with the mask? So basically both of them are weaker than they were before, although the sensei has been getting more powers in this time. That's the difference. So basically the teacher tries to help the villains escape, and he does a technique called quirk force activation, and he basically uses a time warping technique. And first I'm assuming he uses the teleporting dude, because my ability is similar to his but it's new, so I don't know how he's got that or what he's been doing, the sensei, but he can force awaken technique. So I'm assuming depending on class he can use abilities of people that are around him in a similar fashion, or use them as conduits because they have a similar ability to use his techniques as well, which I found interesting. What then happens on the back of that is, as people are trying to escape, he's still trying to motivate Shigaraki, to which point they want to grab Bakugo, who starts fighting back. Now at this point, this is when Midoriya wants to step in and help, because All Might's trying to help, but he's getting kind of stopped due to the interventions of the sensei, All for One. So it's interesting that we get to see his mind work, how he puts things together, building, using Shuto's eyes to build a ramp, and then using the speed of Ida to jump, and then Karishma, who's seen as an equal. So he's even considering the mental elements of this, to hold out his hand and call to Bakugo to grab it. And to see all of that play out in such an intricate way, such sharp mind, such intuition, for Bakugo at the end to grab his hand and call him an idiot was like brilliance. Just to see that, I was amazed when it happened. A lot of people talked about it when they did the reviews. I just thought it was brilliant the way they did that. It made a lot of people joke on the Reddit and forums saying, what if Midoriya's quirk was a passive one and it was to do with compilation in his brain? He just hasn't noticed that. What if maybe he's got more than one ability? Remember the original All for One user, or even if it's the same person now, actually I take that back. So the original One for All user, when the power was given to him, he had the ability of a passive ability to compile strength and pass it on. So maybe like he's got a passive ability, Midoriya may also have a passive ability. But that's the end of the chapter. We end with them grabbing a hold of Bakugo, which leads into chapter 91, which I'll do soon. And so, chapter 91, the symbol of peace. The few different things that happen in this chapter. Let's just get the simple ones out of the way because I want to get into the nitty-gritty stuff and kind of reconfirm a few things. So, Garchan realizes that All Might can't go all out. So the first thing is to get him away. So they use his explosions to do that, and then we get to see Magna's technique of magnetism where he's able to propel the characters towards the kids. At that point, Mount Lady gets involved, and so does Gran Torino. So Gran Torino gets involved, the kids are able to get away. So put that aside. Now, the villains are still there. So to help them get away and not get caught by Gran Torino or by All Might, All for One activates Magna's magnetism and pushes them all away, magnetize them. So the way they explain his quirk is he can magnetize males and females in a polarizing way. Males are south and females are north, and he pushes them all through the quirk and kind of in his way motivates Tomorrowski carry on fighting. So that's interesting. That they showed specifically in this chapter. They were it was a bit grey and it could get confusing with last week's chapter, but this week's chapter 91, was basically confirmation that he can force activate other people's quirks if it wasn't really confirmed before. So that's interesting. So the fight now continues. There's a point where All for One tries to capturing Gran Torino, and All Might jumps in. He's now able to use his full powers, throws his Destroy Smash, and tries to get him away. At one point, he grabs All for One's arm, and there's a bit of an internal dialogue. All for One's talking about in the past, because you took down all my friends, I despise you the most. I will basically beat you. And then All Might retorts to that by throwing this big ass smash and basically crushing through this mask of his, but he runs out of time. His emotions get the better of him, but what does this mean moving forward? Because bearing in mind, we talked about before that he's getting weaker the more he uses his abilities. We also talked about the fact that even still, All for One is weakened as well. So they're both on equal footing in that regards, and he is using augmentation class techniques of quirks to fight against All Might. Had he used other abilities that may be different, we'll have to wait and see how this unfolds. But at this moment in time, All Might is out of juice. What happens next? The kids have got away, the villains have got away, Gran Torino, All Might, All for One. Let's see what happens in the next chapter. So, things didn't go to plan well last night. So I ate last night and pretty much fell asleep. It didn't work out well. Anyway, I'm back to do chapter number 92. Bearing in mind, when you get to this part of the video, it can seem a bit strange because I want to put all this together in one video. So you're probably thinking, why did he change his clothes? Well, that's why it's done on a different day, done on the day after. Anyway, today's Sunday. The idea is to get the rest of Boku no Hero Academia out, watch the most recent episode, review everything that I've missed up until now. Let's get back into the swing of things, and then back on the horse from there. I've still got to catch up with World Trigger, Hinamaru Zuma, and the Shubutai and stuff like that. Platinum End. All that's gonna come. We'll deal with it when we can deal with it. Next Saturday, the 18th, I will have my internet, so hopefully that will help out a little bit as well. It makes life a bit easier. Anyway, let's get it done. So 92 is basically just after, as you can imagine, that Punches lands at the end of 91, right? Now from the kids' point of view, the kids have been separated because of the shockwave, and all the pros have basically been guiding them, like a whole rescue situation, like how the whole thing was described in the Ultimate Space and Jam's rescue arc, with the different areas and how they deal with those situations. So Shuto is worried about Midoriya. Midoriya is like, okay, we're fine, we're going a different way. And Bakugo was like, the reason why I came was because I didn't want to be in All Might's way. Which is true, because he was really a hindrance at that point, as everyone else would have been as well. Mido's cool with it because you get the idea that because Gran Torino's there, he's kind of safe. Now, what we start realizing is the news shoppers are going in there, they're getting to see the devastation. People all over the world, all over the country, or all over the town are basically able to see this battle, as well as the destruction that's been basically laid. Because of this, they're also able to see the withered form of All Might for the first time, and people are worried because this is the first time they've seen someone do this to All Might, as in be able to damage him so. At the same time, this is the chapter where we get confirmation that Shigaraki is related to one of the previous successors. It turns out he's related to the most recent previous user of One for All, and her name is Shimura Nana, and she is the grandmother of Shigaraki. Initially I said I thought it was the father. It turns out it's the grandmother. And what makes this worse is that All For One has been planning this the whole time. He set up the chain of events that led for him to hate All Might, even though that was technically his master's grandchild. He did not know this. Obviously he followed his instincts, he did the arrest, he did everything else, but ultimately he did not know that Shigaraki was Shimura Nana's grandchild. So a lot of this chapter is about taunting, and you can tell All For One likes to manipulate the minds of his opponents, especially All Might, and because he keeps going on about the idea that, yeah, I killed your master, but I hate you for what you've done to me. You've took something away from me. But however, did you know this? Did you know this? And he keeps saying things like this all the time to get under his skin, and we know the reason why. So we find out the reason, that because Gran Torino has to stop him at some point because he gets blown away by that corkscrew type of technique that we saw last chapter, and he basically explains to you, because you're letting your emotions get a hold of you, you get a hold of them, because the last time you did this 6 years ago, he punched a hole through you, and that's the idea, because he knows All Might's full of emotion, he's a passionate dude, he cares, he has a heart, and because of that, we basically, he takes advantage. We get to see that, and that's really what this is about. There's a part, and this is a truly villainous thing. It's always like the typical villainous thing, that there's a civilian, the civilian's in trouble, All Might has to save the civilian, but at the same time, he's got to defend the attack of the villain. So this villain does this kind of it basically looks like, if anyone has played Black Ops, Zombies is a type of air cannon type of gun, and it looks like that type of impact, and he aims it for All Might, knowing that there's a civilian behind him, and he doesn't move and he defends her. It really is, that's the typical stereotypical villain that uses those situations to his advantage. But knowing that the whole world is cheering him on, knowing that the whole world is watching, he charges one of his arms or one more time and goes, "We don't lose," and goes in for the kill. So, being that I've seen everything and read everything for chapter 93, 94, I don't want to ruin anything. I will just kind of go and summarize these chapters till we get to the most recent one, and then we'll go in for it. But that's chapter 92. I'll see you in the next one. So, 93 was the chapter for me. There was so much emotional connection to this chapter. There was so much of this idea that we know that All Might, the more he uses it, the more he fades it. They've talked about it over the last few chapters, and he explains how the flame is at its last ember. So the flame is burning out, and All Might is basically desperately trying to keep that flame alive, because that's the power he needs to fight against All For One. And he even knows, the professor or sensei knows, that he's basically given it to Izuku Madara, and he goes, "You're a failure as a teacher," and he goes, and the response was just something else, man. Anyway, let's just get into this. So Gran Torino talks about All Might being at his limit. We get a flashback. Gran Torino's with Nana-san, who's Shimura Nana, who was the previous user of One for All. They talk about how All Might wants to be the pillar of the community, the symbol of peace, and that kind of stuff was kind of cool, because you get to see that flashback. Gran Torino was so tall back in the day. Why do they do that? Then the young in the actual mangas, like big, strong, and then when they're old, they're like 2 foot tall. I've never seen someone shrink that much in real life. And it's funny how they do that in manga and anime. Just something that kind of stuck with me. So what actually happens in this chapter as well, which I thought was kind of cool, was we get to see the fight from the other hero's perspective, especially from Endeavor's. I think Edshot is the other character that's with him, and he's basically been a rival of All Might's for a very long time, and to see him wither away, to be in that condition, although it's his rival, although they're meant to hate each other, he looks up to him in a way because he's always wanted to see how far his strength was compared to All Might's. So the bar was set by All Might, so for him to get that strong was because he wanted to catch up to All Might. So they see that emotion, to see him get pissed off at the idea that he's like that. It kind of explains that rivalry, and kind of like a Goku Vegeta, where Vegeta wants to be the one that defeats him or outshine him and stuff like that. That was cool. We got to see the heroes go in and lighten the load for All Might. We get to see the audience cheer him on. They do not want him to lose, much like last chapter. Amazing stuff. But this pisses off All For One. He lets out his arm and it's been augmented to a so far that it looks like Doomsday from Batman vs Superman or the Batman comics. And basically he explains that all this time he's been wearing him down. Now he wants to kill him. So he throws this punch, and so does All Might, right? But he's got this impact reversal quirk that reverses all the impact into that arm that All Might used. Just when you thought he was down, just when you thought he had no more, he does it one more time. Like I said, he already knows that Izuku's the next user of One For All. And he internally, All Might makes a promise that before he dies, before he's done, he will not die. He will not die till he's fully successfully brought up Izuku Midoriya, much like his sensei did. And he switches all his power into his other arm, the non-destroyed arm. He throws one more smash to take out his opponent. I was there when that was happening last week. I was like, yes, come on, All Might. You had to get behind the champ. But then you thought to yourself, this is it, this can't be no more, and this is confirmed next chapter. The recent release, number 94. Let's get into it. Chapter number 94. Shorter chapter than everything else. I think it was on like 16 pages or something like that. It was very much a cool down resulting chapter, setup chapter for some other stuff. So the key things that happen with this is we get the play-by-play analysis by Gran Torino saying it was clever that he switched his power into the other punch, caught him, it was a bit shallow, and then you get All Might's retort saying no, I didn't put more back into it, and then he does his next level smash. So you know how he does Texas, Detroit, all these states, he does a United States smash, so that must be his all-powerful move. Takes out the enemy. Fight's done, everyone's cheering, people are getting rescued, he's got his hand up in the air, people are relieved, and there's a point he looks at the camera and he goes, you're next. And to a lot of people that's a message to the villains, but to Izuku Midoriya that's his time is up. So it's interesting how these things have double meanings, and a lot of things that, although they may be subtle, have deep meanings compared to stuff that are very obvious that don't have as much. It's kind of cool how those parallels work when it comes to these type of dialogues and these type of things. So that delivery, that message was cool. He did his thing as a showman, as the pillar of the community, as that symbol of peace. But the battle has just begun. As everyone getting rescued, we see All For One go to prison, and the guy's blind. I didn't really realise that. I know he was bandaged up and it fucked up, right? But he had the whole Darth Vader thing going on. But he's actually blind because he was talking about he gets by through sensors and using his other senses. When he gets to the prison, because there's so many cameras and stuff like that, it throws me off. So it's crazy that he was able to fight against All Might in that condition, and even the prison guard says that. But then I believe we see Stain there as well, so he's not dead. I don't know how that works out. I thought he was dead. I'm pretty sure that was Stain. I might be wrong. And then he talks about the plan of having that hatred develop from Shigaraki, and obviously the next battle is between Shigaraki and Izuku Midoriya, so to speak, kind of sets up that generational thing. So it's quite interesting how that's worked out. But I also thought about this, and I thought to myself, what if there's more to All For One's plan than they've made it out. So you know how he can steal abilities and he can remotely activate abilities? What if that's the reason why they've sent him, he's got himself sent to prison, and basically the idea is to steal all the abilities of the criminals in prison, or rally up a big breakout, because he did say you took out all my friends, and maybe all his friends are in that same prison and he breaks them all out together. So the battle itself was crazy. We got to see some crazy power. We got to see all this crazy stuff from All For One, scary stuff. And the only person that could stand up to him is All Might, or the One For All user. And you got to bear in mind that even though All Might is fully powerful, he's not anywhere near what he used to be. He's withering away, he's using less power. It's kind of like an explosion. He has power but he can't maintain it. So it leaves a lot to be, when you think about it, if it leaves a lot to chance, to mystery, to wonder, to see what would happen if he was in that position, bearing in mind that all Might's weakened, but also is All For One. And what if when he's in prison he's able to find an ability that makes him whole again? That's going to cause a lot of trouble for a lot of people. The battle itself was crazy. We got to see All Might go out in a flash, his last hurrah, his last kind of race type of thing, his last fight. He went in there, he stood up, he came out successful. It's time for the dude to retire and pass on his knowledge to Izuku. Izuku needs to start manning up, doing this thing, man. He's got 10%, he needs to get closer to 50 at least, because he's doing too much to his body. He needs to strengthen up and do some more. I can't wait to see what happens in chapter 95. We've got to wait a week now. I wanted to get this video done. Sorry about everything. I will catch up this next week. One Piece and Bleach I'm up to date with. This now I'm up to date with. I'm hoping to get a few more things up to date with. Namely, if I can get I've actually got a note of everything that I need to do. I've got a list of everything. Okay, so I'll show you this as well. I don't know if you can see it. There you go. So I've got One Piece, Bleach, Fairy Tail, 7 Deadly Sins. Them are the 4 that I'm up to date with. This now I'm up to date with. I can tick this off. World Trigger and Black Clover's next. Then I can start picking up Hinamaru Zuma and then Shubutai again. Catch up with Platinum End, Dragon Ball Super manga. And then I can start picking up new stuff. So in the plans of what to expect, I need to get up to date. I need to set up this room. I've got drawers to come. I've got another light to come. Background, probably get a green light, a green screen, and stuff like that. I've got to put shelves up for my comics. And start collecting my manga. So a lot of stuff that's going to happen. But hopefully when all that's done, you should start seeing more from me. Mainly a few more weekly ones. One Punch Man, Haikyuu, and Soma. I've read up to where the anime basically finishes. Before season 2 comes out, we'll catch up. I've started reading Haikyuu again. I'm loving that. It kind of reminds me of a few of the sports mangas, and watching Attack on Titan, and I want to catch up on that and pick up something new, Black Butler and Akame ga Kill. So things to look out for. That should take me to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 17 different releases that I'll be doing. A lot of them are going to be weekly, so lots to look out for. Thanks for your patience. As always, please subscribe, share, comment, everything in the good stuff, and I'll see you next time. No, seriously, you need to subscribe. Peace.